For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Follow the money. That's what I always say. You always follow the money. Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Here we go. Welcome in. It is Follow the Money on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Mitch Moss, Paulie Howard with you live in downtown Las Vegas from the Circa Resort Casino. Fun show lined up over the next 3 hours. Great guests, including Jonathan Davis, 1 hour from right now on tonight's hockey card. And we'll get his updated thoughts after Game 1 of the East last night. Paul Stone, Week 1 numbers. DraftKings, they put him up. He has a bunch of bets in Week 1 and a couple of win totals to throw at you as well. And Matt Euman's in the program a little bit later on. And before we came on the air here, Paulie, moments ago, SGA, it's finally official. The NBA, they announced it moments ago that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is your winner of the 2025 NBA MVP award. So it took long enough.
Yeah, no kidding.
And I was 1 year early with him and the Thunder all around.
Mm-hmm.
So congrats to him.
Did you find it interesting that Michael Malone said he's the MVP last night?
Well,
after
he got canned, yeah. I mean,
also when he was so a passionate speech months earlier about how Joker should win it.
Well, if he was not canned and he was still on the Nuggets, do you think he would have said that last night if he was asked about it?
Uh-huh.
Right, but good job by him kind of sticking it to the Nuggets and his former player. That's got to feel pretty good for Joker anyway.
And Nuggets fans noticed.
Yeah, no kidding. So, a lot of questions. We'll get into Hardcore Breakdown East coming up in 10, 15 minutes here on the program. Game 1 tonight, Pacers-Knicks. A lot of questions that I have after Game 1 last night in the NBA. Will the Wolves continue to shoot like that? Because it wasn't pretty. Here are some of the alarming numbers. They were also very sloppy. And I've talked about this with Minnesota now for weeks on end here about how I love their bench. One of the best, if not the best in the entire NBA. But when DiVincenzo, Reed, and Alexander Walker are going to shoot 7 of 36 from the floor and 5 of 28 from downtown, they basically have no chance to win a game. Also, DiVincenzo and Alexander Walker are 29 for 111 in the playoffs, 26%. And I was personally gutted last night by Naz Reid because I had several bets on him, and the points and the rebounds prop never came in because he was 1 of 11 from the floor, or whatever it was. 7 from downtown.
Champ, I knew they were in trouble at halftime. Well, they only led by 4.
You had to love the Thunder second half.
Mm-hmm. You could have got $1.40 money line at that point in play. And SGA was 2 of 13, yet it was only a 4-point game. Mm-hmm. And Randall was great as well. So, this reminds me of when Moss was in his prime with the Vikings, and he was unstoppable. But they would play Tampa and certain teams, and they would play a cover 2. And then after the game, they're like, well, they took him away. What are we supposed to do? They played cover 2. As if you have no creativity or imagination, and you couldn't draw something up and get the best player in the sport the ball. For Ant, after the game, to say, well, they were packing in the paint, they were taking it away. What can you do? Well, you don't shoot 51 threes.
Yeah.
And certainly Ant got to the basket 1 time. That was ridiculous when he almost had that ferocious dunk. So Finch has to do a better job. He said it after the game. You're right, they got good looks. The big thing is open threes. Minnesota, 11 of 39. OKC, 10 of 16.
There you go.
That's your big boy.
Yep.
So, but I got to see what they do with the game plan and if they're just going to continue to jack threes and what they're going to do offensively. But that was a horror show to get outscored 70-40 in the second half, and I thought the shot selection was ridiculous.
Well, here's the thing. I'll push back on that a little bit because, again, the open threes, 11 of 39, like you said, 28%. Those were wide open threes. I'll break it down even more. So open threes can be like 4 to 6 feet away from the next closest defender. Wide open threes means basically nobody is even in close range. Minnesota, 8 of 30 last night. Wide open threes, 26.7%. OKC was 10 of 13. I had... Like the shots that DiVincenzo and Reed were taking, I had no problem with them.
He's been terrible, by the way, DiVincenzo.
The numbers are
awful. He was so good with the Knicks. The guy can't make an open shot now.
Well, he shot 39% from downtown in the regular season, and now for him, and I'm more disappointed in Alexander Walker. Mm-hmm. I can't even play that guy right now, and they had to last night because McDaniels he fouled out of the game.
Can you play Rudy?
Well, they said no last night.
I mean, how bad is that trade? I mean, you can't forget about drawing something up. The guy can't even give you a putback.
No, he
2
can't
points
even.
And 3 rebounds in 21 minutes. Come on, man.
I
so
also,
you're playing 4-on-5 on offense.
Yeah, I do think that at some point, once they fell down in the third quarter, Finch made the executive decision to say, Rudy is by far like our worst offensive option out there. We just can't play him anymore. We need to catch up in this game offensively, and that's going to have to be a combination of other players.
Well, and your guy, too, took 13 shots. Why is Ant only taking 13 shots?
I would agree.
So, they did the same thing in Game 1 against Golden State. Don't overreact. It was just a bad second half, and we'll see with their adjustments. But certainly you're in trouble now with futures in terms of hedging, because now we're up to minus $6.50, minus $7 adjusted series price. That was one you thought you could grab, and certainly you're really up against it if you can't grab Game 2, because then the series price really goes sky high. And then the OKC love affair starts now, because they were so good in the last 2 games and blowing people out, and it's going to be tough to beat them at home where they should be undefeated. The only loss was when they're up 9 with 2:30 against Denver.
Yeah, so much of this series and so much of basically any NBA game or series will play out with whichever team's going to hit the threes. We just told you about how it went last night with the open threes and the wide open threes, and I'll tie it into what happened to Oklahoma City last year when they lost to Dallas, because we reference this all the time, and it's a year ago, so many of you may have forgotten already, but they lost in the semifinals of the West last year because P.J. Washington could not miss, and here is proof. P.J. Washington shot 47% from 3 in that series. He hit like 3.8 threes per game. Everything that he put up was going in. Again, he played the best 6-game stretch of his entire career anywhere. The next series against Minnesota, even though Dallas won in 5 games, he shot 25% from downtown. In the finals against Boston, he shot 27%. He's a career 35, 36% three-point shooter. So that's a total outlier. But if Minnesota's going to be, and I don't know DiVincenzo and Alexander Walker, I want to sit here and tell you that those open threes are eventually going to go in, but they haven't so far in the playoffs. So I do bank on Anthony Edwards here to step up and have a huge game. If you go back and look at recent losses, in games that did not turn into a blowout, and I don't think Minnesota will blow out Oklahoma City in Game 2, and I would lean towards Oklahoma City not blowing out Minnesota in Game 2 either. Ant's games after a loss, 29 against the Lakers in Game 2. On April 10th, he had 44 after a loss against Memphis. Before that, 29 against the Pelicans in a 4-point loss. He had 44 against the Suns on March 2nd. But again, they haven't lost many times. It's only the 7th loss in the last 37 games of Julius Randle. He typically bounces back in a game after a loss. So I think that 13 shot attempts from last night will turn into 20 or 25. And he would be one guy I would look to play over his point total in Game 2.
Gotcha.
But they have to win this game. Otherwise, they're dead and buried.
Too many threes and too many turnovers. 31 points off turnovers for OKC. Can't do that. I know they have an awesome defense, but that can't happen as well. The other thing, everyone's watching. It's a big game, and then here we go. The officials have to get involved, right?
I know it.
So many fouls in the first half, but this was blowing up on social media because Doris Burke made the comment that NBA Twitter calls SGA a free throw merchant and how he hunts for fouls nonstop, and it's too much of his game. And I know Justin Termini, Sirius XM NBA, said this is unwatchable. I can't do it. He's falling to the floor. He's getting calls. He's initiating contact. Bill Simmons, I don't care who wins this game. The touch foul calls SGA gets are awful. They don't resemble anything else that's happening in the playoffs. This has been football and wrestling, how they call it a different way now from the regular season, but this guy is treated differently like Jordan. I agree with he's a great player, but the stuff he gets away with in terms of calls and the trips to the free throw line in these playoffs, I think I agree with all these NBA people.
But unfortunately, that's the history of the NBA, and a lot of players kind of get this treatment. I could never stand watching James Harden play. Couldn't stand it. The herky-jerky crap that he would get away with. And
Trae Young, too. Yeah.
Trae Young, same thing.
Yeah, the foul hunting, got to stop.
Sure. But some of the stuff that they actually called last night on him, total nonsense, man.
All the McDaniel stuff, I mean, that's coming right away. I know.
The one example of when McDaniel, first of all, the most egregious one, I think, to me last night was when you slow it down, you could actually see it in real time, but it was really egregious in slow motion. So SGA steps between the legs of McDaniels and on his foot. And as a result, that causes McDaniels to trip and fall on his face. He never touched SGA, never touched him. And there's a foul on him, and then SGA is going to get rewarded by going to the free throw line. And I don't even know if that was the worst one of the night because the one that he banked in, he clearly was never touched again. How do you allow, you're exactly right, how do you allow a rugby match to be played for a month and a half in the NBA playoffs, but then there's one guy who's going to get away with it? And I love the guy, but I can't stand the style of basketball and a guy who gets away with it in all these calls. Drives me insane.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Now, if he gets those calls again in game 2, Oklahoma City wins, probably going away. It is the NBA. Will Fitch complaining and the players laughing about it in the postgame have anything to do, and will it impact the refs in game 2?
I'm sure they'll send stuff to the league. Absolutely. They got it ready. Yep. How about the 6-point move in the total?
Yeah.
I don't understand that. I thought this would be a low-scoring series, and then it'd be high-flying in the East based on the pace in Indiana. This one, 219.5 that went off at. And you never had a chance in that game.
Well, I would say, again, Minnesota had those open looks. Instead of 11 of 39 open llooks, what if they're 18 of 39, you know?
Yeah, but also the pace, though. I mean, look what that pace was at. So
the
OKC's going to have problems scoring if you don't turn the ball over and hand them 31 points as well. You saw that.
The biggest problem for Minnesota was they never should have had a 4-point lead at halftime.
That's right.
That should have been 10, 12, 15 points.
No question. Totally agree. Ready to get in on the action? First Bet has you covered. Sign up now. Access exclusive promotions. Bet on hundreds of great horse races every day right from your phone or computer. Visit firstbet.com. Promo code VSIN200. 20% rebate on all your wages for the first 60 days. Up to $200. Don't miss out. Start betting today at First Bet.
Is the, after game 1, is the Eastern Conference over with in the NHL?
That was alarming.
Oh, man, they are a freight train.
Hadn't lost at home. Hadn't allowed more than a goal on penalty kill. And hadn't allowed more than 4 goals in a game. And it's 5-2, and Florida went 15 minutes without a shot on goal.
Incredible. 2
power play goals. That's supposed to be your spot. Florida's coming off the Game 7 in Toronto. Oh, that's, yeah. 250
scary good.
250 seems cheap. 240, yeah.
Up next, a lot on the Knicks-Pacers series in Game 1 tonight. A lot of people are expecting regression from the flammable Pacers offense. We'll share the numbers coming up here on VSiN.
For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Follow the money. That's what I always say. You always follow the money. Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Welcome in. Good to have you on board. Busy hour coming up. We'll get into the NBA playoffs in 15 minutes. Bottom of the hour. Plenty of props across the entire sports betting board tonight. And here we begin talking NHL playoffs as VSiN's very own NHL betting analyst Jonathan Davis joins the program here on the Progressive Guest Line. JD, good afternoon. Thanks for the time today. How are you?
I'm doing great. You know, last night was kind of like just the appetizer for tonight. Tonight's like the steak dinner for the Stanley Cup second round.
Yeah. And by the way, if I take a bite out of the appetizer from last night, I throw it in the garbage and say we're leaving the party already because I don't want to overreact, Jonathan.
Yeah.
I think we're looking at a sweep here.
Oh!
Maybe a 5-game. I mean, this Florida team, I know they won 7 games, but their A game is an absolute freight train. And for them to go to Carolina and do what they did, a team defense that had been stellar up to this point, 15 saves by Anderson, and he allowed 5 goals overall in the game. I'm blown away by what they did to Carolina last night.
Yeah, it was 4 goals on the first 16 shots for Florida. They only had 20 in the game. So the Hurricanes have yet to give up more than 21 shots, you know, in their last, 6 playoff games.
Oh, yep.
Pretty remarkable.
Yep, that Anderson prop is cashed 6 in a row. Thank you, sir. Yep.
Yeah. Now, I mean, look, Florida out-Carolina Carolina. They play the same game as Carolina. They wear you down. They try to extract a pound of flesh. They just do it better, and they've got more talent. I think I may have said to you guys before the series started, if Andrei Svechnikov doesn't continue his torrid pace, they're done. He led them, you know, he's got 8 playoff goals. But guys, the 3 of us have as many goals against Bob in our lifetime as Svechnikov does in his 16 games.
He's never scored once against Bob?
Not once.
Wow.
Not once.
So if they're also, quick question here, if they're able to go back-to-back, because ESPN did that story today that Greg Wyshynski teased yesterday, and it was Rantanen. But who's the Conn Smythe winner if it's Florida and they win the Cup again? Because there's some big prices out there because they're so balanced.
Well, look, I think Bob's going to get a lot of praise, and rightfully so. I mean, he's been unbelievable since Game 3 of the Toronto series. I think he stopped like 8 or 9 breakaways in the last 4 or 5 games, including a couple last night. Sam Bennett's the other one, 7 goals for the Florida Panthers, leads the team. He's always been, a big playoff performer. So those are two that would stand out for me right now. Or you could just give it to the entire Panthers blue line, guys, which is leads the playoffs in both goals and points. And here's one other thing, a little tip for tomorrow. Here's a play for you. In 3 of the last 4 Florida Panther games, the fourth line has scored a goal. Play them all tomorrow to score. They're all at plus 1,300. All you need to do is have one hit.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Not bad.
Would you take a peek at Marchand there at 30 or 35 to 1?
Yeah, I mean, look, quiet last night, other than, Shane Gostisbehere firing the puck at him. But, he led them in round 2 against Toronto. Look, he would, yes, worth a shot. But I think right now Bennett and Bob are the two guys. It is interesting, by the way. Shane Gostisbehere did admit after the game that he purposely fired that puck at Marchand. I can't believe we haven't heard about a fine, let alone a suspension.
Yeah, and by the way, another reason why, and I don't want to completely get nuts here, just because it was a great spot for Carolina doesn't mean they were going to win the game. But again, to lose 5-2 and how they were playing, Florida played late Sunday night, and they had no time off. They had to travel and then play at Carolina, and they got absolutely buried when they had plenty of days off. Horrible sign for Carolina, in my opinion.
Well, it's the whole rest versus rust. It's been the rest has not been an advantage. I think teams are now like 7-12 off 4 days rest when you've got someone that's not playing on an extensive rest time. So it hasn't worked out in the playoffs whatsoever. It didn't work out for Carolina. They better find a way to win Game 2 because guys they don't have a lot of the same players that have been there for all 13 games, but this kind of seems like the Connor Hellebuck version of in the East, in the Eastern Conference.
Okay, so the big one tonight, rematch of last season, Edmonton 1-6. You have a great tidbit on the special teams and what didn't happen in that series, and a lot of the games were low scoring, and Skinner was phenomenal down the stretch, and the Edmonton defense was absurd. Do they continue that? I was surprised there was 6.5 at DraftKings on this game yesterday. Walk us through Western Conference Finals and what you think here.
Well, okay, so I think we're starting to see some 6s out there. I would gravitate to over 6. I'd probably gravitate to the first period over. I think we're going to have a bit of rustiness. Both these teams have had extended periods of time off. So I do like both the first period over and the full game over in this one. Look, Dallas has been dominant if they win that first game when starting at home. But even Edmonton in their history, I think they're like 10-3, losing Game 1 on the road and then winning a series. Look, Dallas had 5 guys that scored goals for them in round 2. They can't have that. And 7 of their 12 goals came from Mikko Rantanen and Michael Granlund, who had 3, and Granlund's all came in one game. So, they need more offense. And 5 of their goals, by the way, came on the power play. Pete DeBoer put his lines in a blender for this series. We'll see where it goes. And it's Mike Palm's favorite goalie in net for Dallas. Let's see if Jake Ottinger can outduel Stuart Skinner. Now, Skinner, by the way, guys, as good as he is games 4 through 7, he's polar opposite 1 through 3.
Yes.
He's got a losing record and a goals against average that hovers near 4.
Let's follow the money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Our guest, Jonathan Davis, VSiN's very own NHL betting analyst. Follow him on X, by the way, at West Coast HKY. Puts out a lot of live bets during the action as well. So I'm looking at your story, and you put up daily stories on the website here at VSiN.com. And one of the bets that you like tonight is Mikko Rantanen over 1.5 points. That pays almost plus 170, and you have 0.2 units on that tonight. What did you find when Rantanen, with his ice time, when it breaks down certain ways?
So when Rantanen plays less than 18 minutes, I think he's got 10 points in the playoffs. He's had 3 games of less than 18 minutes. When it's more than 18 and less than 20, he still puts up multi-point games. I think he had a 4-point game, and he did have a game where he did have nothing. So 5 of the 6 games, 20 minutes or less, he's had multi-point games. The problem is that when he gets over 20 minutes, and he's had a bunch of games that have been in the 23, 24 range, he's had 5 of them. He's had 4 of those games without a point and 1 game with 1. So Dallas is going back to 12 and 6 today, 12 forwards, 6D, and that's really predicated on the fact that their defenseman Miro Heiskanen, felt he wasn't ready to play a full game, for him, 20 plus minutes the last 2 of the Jet series. He's ready to go. They're going to go with the traditional 12 forwards. It should mean that Rantanen can stay, under 20 minutes for this one, and that's why I like him. Look, he's put up great numbers against the Oilers over his career. He had 6 points in 4 games in their last playoff meeting. I like Rantanen for more than, for over 1.5. And I tweeted something out just on the Oilers side, guys. Zach Hyman, who has only got 3 goals in the playoffs, but has 75 hits. It's remarkable. If I could find a place that takes hit props, I'd be on it. Zach Hyman, guys, 8 goals in his last 6 game ones. Twice he scored the first goal of the game.
All right, that's 16, not bad. That's 16-1. Excellent. How about the special teams, which, Dallas didn't score on the special teams the entire series last year. Edmonton's historic penalty kill in that run through the playoffs. The kill's been suspect. It was bad against L.A. And Edmonton, even though they beat VGK, didn't get anything from the power play.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think Dallas is going to I think they have to find a way to score some power play goals in this series. Like I said, they had 5 against Winnipeg. Their power play's been, I think they're 3rd best in the NHL. They were just behind Carolina going into play yesterday. So, yeah, I think that's critical for them just because they've struggled 5-on-5. I would also look, though, for Jason Robertson to have a good series. He has done very well against the Oilers. He had a hat trick when they met back against the Oilers in March. I think, he's needed some time to get healthy after his injury with the last game of the regular season. Like I said, I think Robertson is good to go, and I like him to score tonight.
Sorry, Mitch. What's the most juice you'll lay? Because Rantanen is a 220 to have a shot on goal in every game. That seems too good to be true. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's realistic to me that he'll have 1. I'd have to go back to see how many times he didn't have a shot on goal. Seems reasonable.
Okay.
Just to get 1. But I'm more into the plus money. There's too much plus money out there that I'd want to have to lay minus 220 for something.
What are you looking at for plus money in terms of a series bet? Games overall, like 5.5, over something like that. Under maybe if you want to go with the plus money. What are you looking at there?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to play. I mean, if I played anything, I haven't played anything yet for the series. I would look to, 6 or 7 in this series. I just don't see it going 5. I think that's the safe way to go. I'm probably just, I'm going to go game by game in this series unless, something drastically changes. I'm going to continue to zigzag. I'm going to, but here's another thing I'm going to look at for tonight, guys. And that's I'm going to play both teams on the puck line. I'll play the dog on the reverse puck line. So both teams at minus 1.5, both at plus money. We're continuing to see games be decided by 2 or more goals. So, hey, it's not necessarily you're going to make a huge profit, but, looking at the numbers here, and what are we? We're at 16-10, I think it is, or 17-10. The dog, 17 of the 27 wins by the dog. They've won by 2 or more. The favorite, 30 of their 44 wins, they've won by 2 or more. I think it's worth the plus, just a small plus money wager on both.
Very good information as always. Again, you can read Jonathan's daily write-ups at vsin.com. Follow him on X. He is at West Coast HKY as well. Puts out a lot of live bets during the action.
Yeah.
Thanks, JD. Enjoy the game tonight.
Always a pleasure, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And he was on the Progressive guest line.
So they asked the writers and voters, who would they vote for? Rantanen, Conn Smythe, number 1. The other favorites were Anderson before the game, last night, and then McDavid.
Up next, a lot of questions after last night's playoff action and a look at Game 1 tonight. A bench player has killed the Knicks. Find out who with the startling numbers next on VSiN.
the money. That's what I always say. You always follow the money. Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Good to have you on board here on a Wednesday. We're live in downtown Las Vegas, Circa Resort and Casino. Busy hour coming up. Matt Euman's on the program. A couple of bets in the NBA. He has a Heisman bet that he wants to share.
How about that?
In 30 minutes. Here we begin the hour talking college football with professional sports bettor Paul Stone. He is on the Progressive Guest Line, and you can give him a follow on X. He is at Paul Stone Sports. Good afternoon, buddy. Thanks for the time today. How are you?
Doing well, man. Glad to be with you guys. Glad to have some week one numbers out, and college football will be here before we know it. Memorial Day right around the corner. So hot and heavy. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, good job by DraftKings. They posted now win totals, and they have numbers up for week 0 and week 1. And with this, you know, the evolving landscape of college football and how tricky it is, and you do this on a daily basis, 365 days over the year, but at what point did you get comfortable, you think, this offseason with your power ratings to the point where when the numbers were going to come out, you were ready to make a bet for week 1, for games of the year, and for win totals overall?
Well, I'm waiting for games of the year to come out. That's really what I like to focus on. But
Right.
I tell you, I'm not entirely comfortable right now, Mitch, to be just brutally honest about it. I mean, it's just such a changing, evolving game with the advent of NIL, year-round free agency. There's so much roster turnover. I mean, we've heard coaches say, you know, I used to build a program. Now I just try to field a team from one season to the next. And, you know, in the old days, some guys, I didn't so much do this, but some guys would take their year-end power rating from the previous season and kind of use that as a starting point for the next season's power rating. But I don't even know if that's viable anymore. I mean, there's so much turnover. You got, 45, 50 new players on rosters. So it is just a voluminous process. It's so labor intensive, and just always working on it, always reading, trying to, gather information and try to determine, if this unit's better, if the offense as a whole is better, so forth and so on. So it's an ever evolving process. The workload's never been heavier.
All right, let's start off with a bang. I think this is your strongest play. This is week 1, Monday, September 1st, TCU plus 2.5 against Lombardi and Belichick.
Yeah, I tell you, Bill Belichick, obviously a renowned coach, won 6 Super Bowls with the New England Patriots. But I'll say, first of all, him going to the college game from the NFL, 1, Tom Brady was with him for all those Super Bowls. Tom Brady, obviously not at North Carolina. And 2, that was then and this is now. And I mean, to be frank about it, we'll just talk about the elephant in the room right off the bat. This is a 73-year-old man with a 24-year-old girlfriend. So I think his priorities and level of commitment, it's fair to question those. You've got to wonder where his head is, if he's working as hard as the guys he's competing against. And I'll add this as well. Even before Jordan Hudson became a household name, at least for sports fans, guys like you and I, even before that, I personally never thought Belichick was going to be wildly successful in the college game. And I still don't. There's nothing in my mind to suggest that he's going to be successful in the college game at a school like North Carolina. And the reason I say a school like North Carolina, they're slotted in a certain spot in the NIL national pecking order. And I don't think they've got the treasure chest that some of the schools they're competing against do. I mean, the quarterback that they settled on, Gio Lopez from South Alabama, he's a dual threat guy, good quarterback. Didn't make any of the top 3 teams, though, all conference in the Sun Belt last year at South Alabama. So that tells you a little bit. Again, it's about acquiring talent. In football, you've got to get the best players. That certainly applies to the college game as well as the NFL game. And the way acquisition of talent in the college game is so different than the NFL game. There's no draft. It's all about how much money do you have in NIL, and usually the player goes to the highest bidder. So I think he's at a little bit of a disadvantage in that arena. You're looking at a North Carolina team that was ranked, I think, number 9 in transfer portal rankings. as far as the players they obtain, players coming and going by one service. And I just don't see that. I think they were net losers in the portal. They lost some of their very best players. Their top defensive player, Amari Campbell, goes to Penn State. Their top pass rusher, Bo Atkinson, goes to Ohio State. Lose at least 3 other defensive players to Power 4 destinations. So they lose a lot of good players. TCU's got the better roster. They've got a third-year starting quarterback in Josh Hoover, got good running game. They've got a nice core of receivers. Defense is going to be better this year for the Horned Frogs. I think TCU should be a small favorite. I like TCU plus the 2.5 that's available out there in the marketplace over North Carolina.
Okay. Would you take pizza money 20-1 that Belichick isn't coaching that first game?
I might take a little pizza money on that, Paulie. I just think there's just so much there's so much stuff up in the air right now. I mean, there are reports we were talking about off the air that she's told friends that they're engaged. Mm-hmm. I mean, if I'm 73 years old and I'm engaged to a 24-year-old woman, I might quit coaching.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, how long are you going to live? I might make the most of my opportunity. So you just got to wonder, man, this is just crazy. I mean, sports always gives us things to talk about. There's always twists and turns that come out of nowhere, and this is certainly one of them. I mean, Bill Belichick coaching college football, who would have thunk it? And he's got a 24-year-old girlfriend, so crazy stuff.
Which one's the bigger upset?
Probably
it might be the girlfriend.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think the 24-year-old girlfriend. I mean, to me, that's Appalachian State over Michigan. I mean, that is
all right.
Or Stanford over USC. Stanford was getting over 40. I think it's right. Stanford over USC, whatever year that was.
What do you think about this? Northwestern's catching 7.5 against Tulane. Too big of a number there. Could they pull off an upset here and win the game outright?
Yeah, this is a play. I like Northwestern, and it's not so much a play on Northwestern as it is a play against Tulane. And again, did anybody lose more than Tulane did, I should say, in the portal? I mean, just going down a quick list, they lose their quarterback, Darian Mensah. He goes to Duke. They lose not only one of the best backs in Group of 4, maybe the best back in college football returning in Macal Hughes. He goes to Oregon, 2,800 yards almost rushing the last 2 seasons. Their top 3 wide receivers declared early for the NFL draft. Those 3 guys combined for 2,100 yards receiving last year. Their tight end, Alex Bauman, goes to Miami. And their 3 top offensive linemen, they graduate. They exhaust their eligibility. So their offense is not the same offense any shape, way, or form. And oh, by the way, their quarterback, TJ Finley, the guy they brought in, and if you went to college, he's probably played at your college by now. TJ Finley gets in some legal trouble towards the end of spring training, some criminal charges there. He abruptly leaves the program in April. They're left without a quarterback. They have to go out and get Brendan Sullivan, who, if you remember, started games at both Northwestern and Iowa. He's their likely starter, probably going to start against his former school, Northwestern, in this opener. Again, Northwestern getting 7.5 points. I thought this was going to be below 6. And I think Northwestern clearly has the quarterback advantage as well. Preston Stone, who played well at times for SMU before losing the job early last season to Kevin Jennings. He's going to be Northwestern's quarterback. I take Stone over Sullivan at the quarterback position. I like Northwestern plus 7.5.
2.5 minutes left. How about a win total? Stanford, 3.5. Andrew Luck comes in as GM, fires the coach after an investigation. Frank Reich is the interim.
Yeah, and much like what I've talked about, it's all about the roster. In Stanford, man, they just lost everybody. I mean, I won't go over each and every player, but their top defensive player, David Bailey, 12 sacks the last 2 years. He's off to Texas Tech. They had a true freshman wide receiver, Emmett Mosley, the 5th. At the end of last year, this guy in his final 3 games had 26 catches for 332 yards. He goes to greener pastures. He's off to the University of Texas, and at least a dozen other players, including a host of starters, left for Power 4 schools. So all their better players getting poached. You look at their schedule, they're favored by 2.5 at Hawaii to start the year. So that game's kind of a toss-up. At the end of September, they host San Jose State. I think they'll be favored by about 4 in that game, so that game could go either way. And then the only other game they might be favored is going to be a home game against rival Cal there in November. And again, they'll probably be less than a touchdown favorite, just guessing. A lot can happen between now and then in that game. So they might be favored in 3 games. There's no automatic wins anywhere. They've gone 3-9 for 4 straight years. I think 3-9 would be great. I think Circa has their win total at 3 there, but you can find some 3.5 minus 115 at DraftKings, also under 3.5 at FanDuel. I don't think Cardinal are going to win more than 3 games, probably 2. I like Stanford under 3.5.
Wow, very good. You also like A&M to go under their win total, huh?
Yeah, it's 8.5, and it's all about the schedule. When we look at these regular season win totals, guys, and looking at their schedule, they play road games this year against Notre Dame, LSU, and Texas. Those are 3 pretty good schools. They're all going to be ranked in the AP preseason top 10. So if they lose all 3 of those road games, if you get the under 8.5 heavily juiced, they can't lose another game and go over. So I like this A&M game to go under the 8.5. There is some 7.5 out there, but lay the juice, take the under 8.5. They additionally have trips to Arkansas and Missouri, not tap-ins there. And they also have home games against Florida and South Carolina. Both those schools going to be preseason top 20. A tough schedule for A&M. I don't see them going any better than the 8-4 that they went last year. I like A&M under the 8.5 wins.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, Paul. Great talking college football with you. Great breakdowns. Thank you for the time here in late May. We appreciate that.
Hey, love talking with you guys. I'll be here before we know it, and good luck to everybody.
Yep, back at
Thank
you.
you.
He also likes Baylor plus 2.5 against Auburn right away in week 1.
Notre Dame, Wisconsin from Lambeau next year.
That's right.
Good job.
Glad I'm going to go to that game.
Get in there.
You can follow him on X. He's at Paul Stone Sports. Up next, a VSiN host has a strong opinion about live betting NBA games. Hear what he had to say next.
If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Get some best bets here with VSiN host Matt Youmans. He joins the program, and he is on the Progressive guest line. Matt, good to talk to you as always. You know, in the previous segment, we played that clip of you last night on your show, Primetime, discussing game 1 of the Thunder and the Wolves and how you said, yeah, maybe I'd take 10, but now it's 7. I'm going to wait because you said, I guarantee you can get a better number on the Timberwolves. You also could have gotten a better number on the Thunder last night, and you talk about that all the time in the NBA. Is that your approach tonight for game 1, Knicks Pacers, with New York being a 4.5-point favorite, or do you like something here before tip?
I don't like anything before tip, and that's a good question because we talk about this every night on the live betting show. If you're patient, if you wait throughout the game, you're probably going to get, 4 out of 5 times, if not 9 out of 10 times, you're going to get a better number on either side. And that was true last night with Oklahoma City. That slow start by the Thunder. At one point, the line dropped to basically a pick 'em, and the T-Wolves flipped to 1.5 points favorites in the first half. And that's when you buy low on the Thunder if you like the Thunder pregame but didn't bet it. And then obviously there are a lot of bettors I know who like the T-Wolves in last night's game. I sort of did too, but I wasn't going to bet it at +7 or 7.5. I was going to wait live and see if I could get 10.5 or 11. Well, T-Wolves get a lead. I lost some interest in betting the T-Wolves in the second half, and things started to go the other way, so I didn't bet it. But I really think these NBA playoff games are so volatile with so many runs that you're better off betting live than you are taking a big stance pregame. Unless you love something pregame, then go ahead. And sometimes you can set yourself up in a good position in the middle, and you can take a middle shot or something like that with live betting, which is always a pretty good idea too. But nothing in Knicks Pacers for me pregame tonight. I think this is going to be a tight game. Obviously, I think it's going to be a tight, long series, and I've got a few bets on this series, but not on game 1.
What do you think happens with pace and tempo?
Pacers are really efficient offensively, and they can, if they force the tempo and make the Knicks play fast, I think that's what they want to do. And when you watch the Pacers, they can put you in a deep hole when they get hot from 3. And that's obviously what they're going to try to do is spread the Knicks out and spread the floor with shooters. Pacers can be really a really impressive team. I just think when I look at this series as a whole, I think the Knicks are going to try to slow it down. Jalen Brunson's going to try to be the head of the snake. Is going to control the tempo and the pace of these games and kind of force, especially the games at the Garden, kind of force the Pacers to play the Knicks style. And when I look at the Pacers, I think they're a little soft in the middle. And the Knicks are a little bit tougher. Now, Karl Anthony Towns doesn't play around the basket as much as he should, but with Mitchell Robinson and the Knicks' strength around the basket, I think that's something they have to exploit. I like Jalen Brunson as the better point guard, and I think the Knicks are just a little bit tougher team. I mean, when you break down the series as a whole, like Jimmy the Greek used to do when he was with Brent Musburger on NFL Today on CBS, you check all the boxes. The one box that the Pacers clearly have the advantage is in the superfan category because they have Wes Reynolds and Indy Jeff Seeley, and the Knicks have Screamin' A. Smith and Spike Lee. Mm-hmm. So the Pacers have a big advantage in the superfan category, but I think the Knicks have more advantages, more check marks in general. And Brunson, I've been a big Brunson fan all the way back to Villanova. I thought the Mavericks were crazy to let him go. All this talk about the Mavs letting Luka go, don't forget, they let Jalen Brunson go basically for nothing. They offered him a contract that's in today's NBA terms basically peanuts. And he went to New York, and that was a great pickup by the Knicks, and that's why they are where they are today. And, not enough is said about the first big mistake the Mavericks made, and that's letting Jalen Brunson go. I think he's going to be the difference in this series. He's averaging 28.8 points in the playoffs, and I expect him to have a big first two games here. And like I said, I think it's going to be a long series, you guys. And I don't want to – I rarely like to bet game one of a series. I think you can find better spots to bet throughout the series. Whether you're playing zigzag or whatever you're playing. So maybe if I see something live tonight, I'll bet it if there's a big number out there when there's a run one way or another. But I do think the Knicks win a long series. It's a tight series. I bet over 5.5 games, -170. I bet the Knicks to win in 7 at 4-1 odds, +400, and the Knicks to win the series at -150. Now we have Paul Bovey, another Knicks super fan, on the show last night. You guys won't believe Bovey. I think he ran the stairs of the Empire State Building yesterday. He swam laps in the pool for a half hour. He did push-ups in the hotel fitness room for an hour. And he put on a super small shirt and came on and did a segment with us last night on the show. Bovey said it's going to be quick. Knicks in a quick series. I think it's going to be a long series.
Maybe the fandom there setting in for Paul as well.
Yeah,
wishful thinking maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
Did you bet Scotty Scheffler 3-1 to win the Charles Schwab this week?
I was I just walked out of the South Point Sportsbook. I was talking to the legend, Jimmy Vaccaro. And South Point's actually got Scheffler at +220 to win this tournament. I am not going to bet him, Mitch. I told you I bet Scheffler a couple weeks ago in Texas at +275 when he faced a similarly weak field. And he ran away with I think he went 31 under and won by 8 strokes. I'm not going to play him this week. There could be a hangover from the PGA. I think there was a lot more motivation for him to win in that previous Texas tournament prior to the PGA because he had not won yet in 2025. So I don't think he has a lot of motivation this week and the hangover effect as well. Read Wes Reynolds' golf column. I think he's got a couple pretty good suggestions in there for longer shots this week. If you want to take a shot, I like Harris English, by the way, and I think that's a player Wes might have tipped. I bet English at 200-1 in the PGA last week. And he went 6 under on Sunday, went crazy, and he ended up tying for second. Well, I got nothing for him tying for second, but I think he's playing well enough where you could take a look at a player like that this week. If Scotty Scheffler does not have his A game, and I'd be a little bit surprised if he does have his A game this week.
Okay, we just talked to Paul Stone. He likes TCU week 1 against Belichick. Also likes Baylor against Auburn. What did you do with a college football future?
I bet Arch Manning, 8-1 to win the Heisman. And typically not going to bet a guy in single-digit odds, but I've got a friend who goes to Texas football practices in Austin. He said, you're not going to believe Arch Manning when you see him. He's put on several pounds of muscle. We know he's 6'4", 225, and he's mobile. He's a hell of an athlete, like his grandpa, and not really like Peyton and Eli. But he can get out and run. He causes problems for defenses. But he said the biggest difference you're going to see in Arch Manning is his arm strength has improved, his accuracy, and this guy can zip it down the field. And with the added muscle he has put on, he looks like a totally different player. So he's miles ahead of where he was a year ago. And I also read comments from an NFL scout who said if the draft were today, there's no doubt Arch Manning would be the number one pick. That said, I wouldn't be surprised if Arch stays at Texas for 2 seasons. I mean, he's making more than $6 million this year to be the quarterback of the Longhorns, right? So there's no urgency. He doesn't need the money. If the Browns have the top pick, he doesn't want to go to Cleveland. He's not coming out. I think the better bet right now is Arch to win the Heisman at 8-1 instead of Arch to be the number one draft pick next spring. He's got the big games right off the bat, too. Texas at Ohio State on August 30th, at Florida on October 5th, and a game at Georgia on November 15th. I know Manning had only 90 pass attempts last year, 9 TDs, 4 rush TDs, but I saw enough to put me on him at 8-1 to win the Heisman because I think Texas as a team's going to be good enough. I think Arch is going to be for real when you finally see him. And I am going to look for some longer shots on the board. One guy I would recommend, I mentioned that game, Texas and Florida in October. DJ Lagway, the Florida quarterback, is a long shot you might want to look at in the 25 or 30-1 range.
Yeah, and by the way, the first book I looked at right now, to win the national title, updated odds at the Westgate, they have Texas at 4-1. They're the short shot over there. And they're ahead of Ohio State and some others. And here at Circa, Texas is at plus 550. So they're one of the shortest shots on the board as well. So I saw something like, some of these draft people looking at it next year. They're basically saying that Texas is going to be loaded at almost every position again next year. Surprise, surprise, right?
Texas is spending a ton of money on the roster. And, that team was good enough to win the national championship last season. I think Manning is going to be a big upgrade over Quinn Ewers. I was never a Ewers guy, and obviously the NFL was not either because Quinn Ewers went in the 7th round of the draft of the Dolphins, and Arch Manning could be the number 1 overall pick. So I do like that. Buckeyes are going to be breaking in a new quarterback in that August 30th game too. Manning's going to be the more experienced quarterback. If Texas wins that game, he's going to be down to about 2-1 plus 250 to win the Heisman.
Good point. Follow Matt on X. He's at Matt Youmans 24/7. We appreciate it, Matt. Good luck tonight, okay?
Okay, you bet. Thanks.
Thank you.
There you go. They're 4-1 at Westgate to win the national title. Whew, wow. I'd like to do a parlay of Arch Manning winning the Heisman in Texas, not being a playoff team because that's going to be so high, but making the Final Four or making the national title game, something like that.
Do you remember midway through the season what these odds were for these guys to go number 1 overall? Ewers, Beck,
oh my God, yes.
Beck,
they were the short
Sanders
shots on the
it was
board.
crazy.
Yes.
Guy went 7th round.
Yeah,
he was
were
one of the top choices to go number 1.
I think Carson Beck was a short shot at one point at 6-1.
Huh. Oh man.
All right, we'll recap our bets from last night and tell you what we're betting tonight and moving forward in Pocket Plays. Coming up on Follow the Money, it's VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.